If you watch a game of Canadian football, it looks familiar but different. The field is massive, there are 12 players instead of 11, there are only 3 downs, and teams can score a single point just by kicking the ball through the end zone. So, to the untrained eye, it looks like a modified version of American football. But what if I told you it was actually the other way around? The story of Canadian football isn't about a country copying its neighbor. It's a story of British military garrisons, fierce university rivalries, a historic road trip to Harvard, and a stubborn refusal to let go of rugby traditions. Let's look at how the Canadian game truly came to exist. In the mid-19th century, football wasn't one sport. It was a chaotic, unregulated mess. British regiments stationed in Canadian garrison towns played various versions of English school games, mostly a hybrid of soccer and rugby. By 1861, the University of Toronto formed the first recorded football club in North America, but the rules changed depending on who you asked. The real spark happened at McGill University in Montreal. McGill students fell in love with English rugby, specifically the version where you could actually pick up the ball and run with it. In May 1874, McGill's team took a road trip to Boston to play Harvard. Harvard played the Boston game, which was essentially soccer. McGill brought an oval ball and convinced Harvard to try English rugby rules. Harvard loved the tackling and running so much that they completely abandoned their old game and introduced these rugby rules to Yale and Princeton. So because of this single road trip by McGill, Canadian rugby rules became the blueprint for all gridiron football across North America. By the 1880s, the sport split into 2 distinct paths. In the US, a legendary Yale coach named Walter Camp revolutionized their game. He abolished the chaotic rugby scrum, created a formal line of scrimmage, reduced teams to 11 players, and invented downs to keep the game moving. But back in Canada, sports organizers under the Canadian Rugby Union wanted to keep the wide-open, fast-paced spirit of rugby alive. They kept 15 players on a massive field. The problem? It was turning into a chaotic, low-scoring grind. Enter Thrift Burnside. In 1903, the captain of the University of Toronto team introduced a radical compromise known as the Burnside Rules. Burnside adopted the American idea of a snapback line of scrimmage, but he made crucial choices to keep the game uniquely Canadian. He reduced the teams from 15 players down to 12, not 11, and because the Canadian field was much larger, 110 yards long and 65 yards wide, organizers decided teams only needed 3 downs instead of 4 to advance the ball. They believed a wider field meant faster, more explosive plays, so an extra down wasn't necessary. As the decades rolled on, Canada locked several unique mechanics into its rulebook to permanently protect its identity from American cultural dominance. First, the Rouge, a direct hangover from Old English rugby. If you kick the ball into the opponent's end zone and they can't run it out, you get a single point. Second, unlimited pre-snap motion. In Canada, receivers and slotbacks could sprint towards the line of scrimmage at full speed before the ball is snapped. This creates a high-flying aerial showcase that looked completely different from the static, grinding lines of American games. But there was one major thing missing: the forward pass. While the US legalized passing the ball forward in 1906, Canada fiercely resisted it for over 20 years, worried it would ruin the rugby-style lateral integrity of the game. Finally, in 1929, Western Canadian teams broke the mold and legalized the forward pass. By 1931, it was adopted nationwide. Modern Canadian football was officially complete. By the time the Canadian Football League was formally established in 1958, the sport had survived 2 world wars, campus rivalries, and endless rule debates. It survived because it wasn't just a sport. It was a reflection of Canadian geography and culture, wide open, fast-paced, and fiercely independent. So the next time you see the 12th man sprint down a 110-yard field, remember, Canada didn't inherit football. Canada helped invent it, shape it, and keep it uniquely its own.